Welcome to the Interview Podcast, the voice of Inter-CT.
Hey guys, welcome to Inter-Connecticut Interview Podcast number 5. I'm joined by Marty Walker, Tom Robinson, and Leon Othen. What's going on, guys?
How are we doing, everyone?
All good, all good.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Here we go. Shout out to Tom. It's his first podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, guys.
His debut, yeah.
Yeah,
First team debut.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. It's always good on a Tuesday morning to listen to what's going on, so I don't have to listen tomorrow.
You're one of 3 people to do. So.
Yeah, no, Marty and Leon were saying they were walking around the soccer field a couple of months back and he scouted the potential from you to be able to talk to Gab.
There you go, I tried to. It's something I'm good at.
There we go. So what's been going on this week? What have we got to report?
Well, I got to tell you, mate, it's you out injured last week? I ended up hosting, and I've never heard so many ums and ers in my time. But
I thought I was
glad you got us back. It took me all week to edit the thing, but no, all good. Just same old, I think. Tom, I know you've been doing the old quizzes and that. You more than most have been able to do the social stuff with the kids. What have you been doing?
Yeah, it's good. I'm lucky to coach kids at the same mental age that I am. So when I'm coaching the U9s and the U10s, last week was a Premier League quiz. So based mainly on the stats. So I wasn't expecting everybody to get every question right, but who's had the most shots on target, leading goal scorer, things like that. It was actually quite interesting to see. Quite a few of the kids had actually done the research because I'd given them the link from where I was going to get the questions from the week before. So, yeah, it was good. And it was also good. We finished at the end with, unfortunately, myself and Leon. We didn't feature in the questions, but Marty, for example, has a Premier League team. I don't. So it was little questions on, which team does each coach support. And unfortunately, with me being a Bolton Wanderers fan, not much to cheer about there. So, yeah, it was good.
What's happening with them? Are they getting relegated or are they...
I don't know. It's supposed to come out this week, whether they're split it onto points. But when you start -12, it's difficult to stay up.
We can do a whole new podcast on that, yeah. But yeah, look that up, Bolton Wanderers, for those of you that listen.
Yeah, don't spend too long doing it.
Marty's had a new toy this week, right?
New toy, indeed. Yeah. We it's a week old now because I was using it last week to experiment with. But yeah, we had the webinar at the weekend with Ariana Crisione. And with any new toy, I think there were some technical difficulties. We almost had a World Cup winning goalkeeper in to talk to us about her experiences from the USA national team from 1999, but she was having technical difficulties on her end. But yeah, it's I used it again tonight for the tactical webinar.
What is it?
I seem to be getting the hang of it, that webinar jam.
Okay.
So it allowed us to kind of deliver sessions, but also like in live webinars, ask questions and polls and those insert videos and all that good stuff. So tonight's session was actually quite good because we did a tactical session, and each segment of the session there was a poll associated with it. So a really good interaction from the, I think, 114 kids that were involved.
So it's like a Zoom setup.
Very much, yeah. It does. It's similar, right? It brings you in, but there's the interactions based on questions and answers. So I'll be, if I have 1 or 2 hosts or 3 hosts or whatever, and we're interacting, delivering the session, you'll see on the right hand side of the screen the chat, and players can ask questions and all that good stuff. So similar kind of in terms of just reaching the masses, but a lot more interaction and kind of connectivity. It was really good.
Fantastic. So that's going to be obviously used for Inter-Connecticut moving forward for new players, but parents. I'm sure you're going to have.
Yeah, it's going to be a great tool to kind of like reach out to the group as a whole from time to time and go over what's happening now, what we're doing, what's plans for next year, and so on and so forth, as opposed to just kind of sending out emails every so often. We can invite them onto webinars and actually go through like workshops and all that good stuff, and then kind of edit it live as we talk to them and answer their questions. So a lot more interactive, and it's a good tool.
There we go. So it's a lot more. It's more of a two-way communication.
Yeah.
Sort of presentation. 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 I should have been.
Presentation.
It's ironic though, really, because it's funny how that all happens, and I'm probably talking out of turn here, but like all of us here are on this, and we're all interacting the best way that we can by talking. It's ironic that we're saying the best way for two-way interaction is to put everyone on mute.
Yeah, well, when there's 150 plus people.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, how many people were in the? Let's talk about the seminar on the weekend. How was it? How many people were in that?
Yeah, 96. There was 96 registered for it. I think we got up to 80, in the high 80s. Some people just didn't make it for whatever reason, but if they registered for it, they still get access to it because every webinar is recorded. So it was a good thing. Yeah, it went well. There's good interaction.
People, we know you weren't on it, so you best go to it now and watch, right?
There you go, yeah.
We know it was you.
Backsides there. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was up, California through to them in Europe, so it was across several time zones. It was good.
South Africa. We had someone from South Africa. We had someone from Scotland.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it went really well. Ariana is a goalkeeper who plays for Paris Saint-Germain, and it's been a friend of mine for over 15 years. I used to coach her when she played at the Boston Renegades. They don't exist anymore. But yeah, we just kind of connected and stayed in touch, and over the years have just kind of checked in on one another. And now she's playing at Paris Saint-Germain, one of the most recognizable teams in the world. She's a goalkeeper there, but she also works in the development department, so she's like a women's football development officer.
So that's the pro live chat, wasn't it, this weekend?
Yeah.
So you mentioned before there was going to be a USA goalkeeper on there?
Well, we were initially supposed to bring in Sydney Schneider from UNC Wilmington to talk about the collegiate pathway. She couldn't make it, so we pulled the last-minute substitution out of the bag and got in Saskia Weber. And Saskia Weber was she was on the bench for the women's national team when they won the World Cup here in 1999, playing behind Brianna Scurry. Yeah, and we get connected, and she was more than happy to come on. And we had her for like 3, 4, 5 seconds, video and audio.
Yeah, we all like, there was a big cheer because we waited for a bit. We'd, way! And then she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, we could only afford 3 or 4 seconds of our time.
There we go. So, was it a success? What was the reason in having the call for the kids to learn? What was it?
Yeah, it started off really for like female development, right? Because we're really pushing to grow our girls' side, and then obviously with Ariana and Sydney and Saskia all being goalkeepers, we thought, no, what, we'll bring the goalkeeper element into it as well, and opened it up to goalkeepers. And then we realized that because they've all played at such an elite level, and their stories aren't just gender specific, so we opened it up to a lot of boys, and a lot of our high school boys joined in as well, and it was like just really good information about the pathway, the journey, like what it takes to kind of get the whatever your next level is, whether you want to play for high school or college or eventually pro. Ariana had some really good stories about the challenges that like players who make it to the elite level face, and how she got around those obstacles.
Well, that was something just before the podcast started, Leon and Tom, we were discussing this in terms of what it takes for players to push on to that next level, because it's a accumulation of things, right? It's not just I want to be good or I am good. It takes a lot more.
Yeah, I think Tom will be able to answer with regards to the players that we have and how many of them have these aspirations and they maybe don't know what it takes. Is that right, Tom, with regards to?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know when I talk to kids regularly before practice, during, after, a lot of them are talking about, what is the end goal? What is the dream? And it's our jobs as coaches not to, put out that fire to help, make it go even brighter. So it's just, I was actually thinking about this afternoon, and there was 2 or 3 kids that jumped into my mind, but I don't know if we can share names and stuff, but Will Whelan was the first one straight away that jumped into my mind, because I remember even before Marty was with us, that kid was always looking to do extra. He was always looking for more and more and more. And I think you can see it in there. You know, even in when I was still working in England, you know, there was kids that now when I was coaching back there, they've gone on further. And I actually was talking to a family over the weekend of my first ever team I coached in the US, and their daughter, you could just see straight away she was passionate about it. You know, they was talking. She was telling me about things in the game that, you know, I might have missed over the weekend and things, and she's just now committed to a D1 college over the weekend, and it's great to see. They do stand out, you know, but how you get there, like you said, you've got to put in the work. And the information Leon was sharing with us beforehand, how Ariana, you know, was looking into her family history and how she's come back from injuries and things like that. It's all about doing the extra in it. The easy things is easy, you know. Can you get to that next step?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you now, we won't use people's names on this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But Wheels is definitely the one.
No, I was really impressed with Ariana. Like, I don't know her as much as yourself, Marty. Although we do have a professional relationship with her, it's I couldn't believe the amount of work that she put in once she was there with her older sister, and, you know, like siblings playing in the backyard or whatever. And then she said, right. She's saying about how she was an outfield player, not very good, and then she wanted to become a goalkeeper. And then not long after that, she said, I want to be better than my sister. And then just playing regular soccer, she made that decision. I like this. I want to do it. I want to be the very best I can. And the story she told about how she really worked hard, and if you don't mind, I'll just kind of give a quick recap.
Yeah.
How she almost was obsessive over the game. She realized that fitness wasn't her strongest asset at the time. They got some training in. They got individual coaches in. She wanted, once she made that decision, that she said, you know what, I want to go pro as a soccer player. And at the time, there wasn't a pro league in the US.
Yeah.
She went out and investigated her family ancestry, went to Ellis Island in order to do so, found out she had some Italian heritage of some sort, got passports, and that was the ultimate way in which that she got to go and play pro in Europe, because at the time, you know, you can't just go to Europe and work. You need work visas, unless of course you've got a European Union passport, which you managed to get. And I found that, you know, that was the ultimate. If you want to do something, you've got to go out and do it.
Well, I think that's something that you mentioned, and her story. It's very cliche, isn't it, in the football world, soccer world? We hear it so much. If you want to be pro, and you hear it all the time on quotes on social or wherever it may be, if you want to be pro, you've got to commit to it 100%. You've got to think about it all the time. You've got to sacrifice so much. And you hear it, and it is very cliche. And you think, a lot of us, we just think, rolls off the tongue, it's whatever. But when you hear the players that are going on to the next level, they're all players that have actually done it, and not just said it, but actually went out and committed the time and were disciplined, and it's paying off. It's not just a thing people say, it's reality, right?
It's easy to talk the talk. You've got to walk it as well. You've got to put it into practice. You know, I've read some great books recently. Talent is Overrated is one of them, and another one is A Talent Code, both of which talk about the importance of doing something over and over again to become so good at it, almost make it a passion, obsessive. Whether that be Tiger Woods with the golf, whether it be tennis players, violin players, piano players, they've all got the passion, an obsessive passion to be better at something. And of course, it does need the support of parents, or at least a willingness to circumnavigate the bad examples or the bad opportunities that people have got. because there are people, there are opportunities that people have come from, like the dust, as it were, to become champions. Those kind of
How I think there's plenty of stories like that. As you mentioned, I watched the Sadio Mane one. That was fantastic, of coming from nothing.
mm,
But I think each of us have probably got an experience from back when we were playing, where we're on the team with the player that's not as good, and you're like, why does he work so hard? Like, and you've thought it. You may not have said it, never said it, but I've thought it before. I'll be honest. Why is he like training that? Like, he's a terrible footballer, or he isn't a good soccer player. And now they're the ones that progress. How many times I think we've all got stories of that, of the player that maybe wasn't as good as us, but then got better or surpassed us and
mm.
played at a higher level because they worked hard. And it is, you see it in many cases, it is a mixture of talent, but also if you put in the work, sometimes you're more respected from coaches, right?
Yeah, coaches appreciate grafters, and it's working hard and smart. I've seen plenty of players who were very, very talented, who just knew they were talented and just didn't do the work. Whereas a lot of players who were just technically okay, but understood the game, understood their role, and just really worked at being consistent, made it. You look at even Wayne Rooney got in trouble there this week, I think, because he says that Ravel Morrison was better than Pogba and Jesse Lingard.
Mm-hmm.
As he's this kid who was at United's academy with Pogba and Lingard, was a better player than them, but in the absolute obscurity where the other two, because they worked on their game, are now superstars. So it's a process.
Well, Tom, I think you started to see, I know it sounds silly, but even in your quizzes there, you start to see the players that are passionate about the game.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I've taken the most from this. From this time where unfortunately we can't be on the field. Like 2 weeks ago, we was doing kind of based on like FIFA Ultimate Team, kind of like selecting our favorite players, and I had my guys that 2011, create the 7v7 team, and you could see the kids that were arguing on why this player should be the centre back. And to be honest with them, I set them quite a difficult challenge. I think the idea might have come from Jamie Carragher. I think he did it on his social media, where you can have one player from one team and the same country. So, like, for example, our argument was Van Dijk. Quite a lot of the kids wanted Van Dijk in, but then it was kind of like, well, you can't have Frankie de Jong in centre midfield because obviously he's Dutch, and then you can't have Salah or Mane or all of them guys. And when you like finish the phone call and look back on the kids who I'm having this conversation with, I'm not having this conversation with you guys. I'm having this conversation with 9 and 10-year-olds, and I think that's amazing. Just on how much they know about the game, and then we kind of then progressed it when I got to the 2010s, and unfortunately it's looking like they're not going to get the last season of 77. They're going to jump straight in at 9v9 come the fall. And we had one kid say, we can't have 3 centre backs play as our back three with a 3-4-1 formation. So like the next discussion was, okay, can we get a left back in there? Can we get a right back in there? And I'm thinking, oh wow, this is great. Even though you're getting more than just the players aspect, you're getting the tactical. What can this guy offer? What can this guy offer? And then like our big decision at the end was, can we get Robertson in at left back instead of Virgil van Dijk at centre half, because he offers so much going forward. And like I mentioned, it was just crazy to think that I'm not sat here talking with fellow coaches. I'm talking with 9 and 10-year-olds. So I think that's been not been able to be on the field. That's where we'd all love to be, but when you can actually talk about the game and, you're having conversations and you're getting goosebumps and you're thinking, wow, you're actually getting through to these kids. I think that's the main thing. And, hopefully we always talk about that end goal, and hopefully just little conversations about this might have, had a kid not knowing who a certain player was, and he might have spent 5 or 10 minutes looking that guy up on YouTube. And then, you've inspired that kid to, look like him and, base his game around that. So
I think that's a great point that you just mentioned then, is about seeing the kids now in a different light and understanding, like when you're having these conversations with them, many cases when you're coaching kids, you've got to be careful, because as a coach, sometimes depending on the age, you can say something and kids are very obedient and they'll say yes, and they'll do what you're saying, but they won't understand it. But in these sort of talks that we're having now via Zoom with the kids, you get to see them in a different light. And I've noticed that they're comfortable in their own home, so they're a little more open, and you can see them thinking for themselves a little more. So it's great that you mentioned that they're actually talking about tactics. That's even one step further, and sort of investigating why and why things happen on a field.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing just to kind of sit back. You know, there was a moment where I was just sat there going, "Oh, I'm hosting this conversation. You know, I've got to keep this flowing." I'm just sat there for like 2 minutes thinking, "That's really good points." Like that, and then we even got to like the conversations on, you know, do we play Messi on the right so we can cut in and play Messi on the left? And the reason why is I think our striker was Mbappe, and they was like, well, we don't want Messi dribbling down and crossing because he's too small. So let's put them on the side and encourage them to cut in. And again, I'm just like, it's either full credit to our staff that we have at the club, or, you know, these kids are investing a lot of time. But you're like, wow, you know, it's just amazing to actually just sit there and talk football, soccer. You know, that's the main reason why we do the game, really. So,
but it's so important, though. That tells me that the kids have got a love for the game, and for me, in all my years of coaching, I have seen far too often that people say, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to play, I want to play at college this. I want to be pro," and they don't really know what it is, and it's just words, and it might be something that they just say on a whim because they feel like that's what we want to hear, and it might be something that comes from the parents as well, more than anything. And I think the pressure of that, and Marty coming from a psychological background, I think the pressure of that can almost work the other way around, though, right? By setting your goals too high.
Yeah, when there's a discord between your goals and the amount of work you're prepared to put in, then it becomes a challenge. And I think that's the point, right? Ariana had these huge goals, but she also had the desire and the willingness to circumnavigate the obstacles that were put in their path.
Yeah, no, it's well, I think for me though, I've got a list here of things that I see as a coach that tells me that players aren't enjoying the game anymore, or the pressure's too high. For example, right, there's an inconsistent or below par performances in practice. All right, so there's that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, lack of motivation or energy levels. I remember playing, and it's a different sport completely, but I went to swimming, and I made a swimming club, you know, and I love swimming where I was. But when I got to that competitive level and I was out of my depth, pardon the pun, then I found out I wasn't motivated to go. I wasn't enjoying it. Then, no interest in the sport. It is amazing. You speak to people, "Oh, who's your favorite player?" And they don't even know who it is, or they don't watch the game. Uncooperative with the coach, frequent complaints of muscle pains, or like, "Oh, my knee hurts. Can I sit out?" If they are injured, they take longer to recover than normal. Getting sick more often. All of those kind of things kind of tell me, or maybe the players aren't enjoying it, or maybe the pressure's too high for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's, listen, there's always distractions and things that'll impact your performance and motivation to perform. I think that's why whenever we rebranded a year ago, our desire was to encourage that love of the game. So at the youngest ages, the kids love the game of soccer, and as coaches, can we create the environment that Tom's talking about by kind of instilling them a desire to do a little bit of work off the soccer field and get a better player, or get a player that they idolize, and support a team that they're passionate about, and kind of grab that tactical side of it outside. Then it's right. You know what? We've instilled your passion and love of the game. Now can we encourage a love to learn? Right, learning the game and understanding the intricacies of the game a little bit as you get older, and then it's love to compete. So I think, and one thing Ariana did say, it's the right environment was important for her. You know, she was at UCLA, which is a massive school, but it was the wrong environment. So she went to Boston College, better environment for her, loved it. She was at FC20 professionally in Holland, negative environment, hated it, left and went to Saint Etienne before she went to Paris Saint-Germain. And the environment was important, and that's probably the reason why, in spite of all these obstacles and distractions, we're trying to create that environment that does take away those excuses and does inspire people to pursue their dreams and does push people on to play pro, play college, play whatever, play high school, and play at a pretty competitive level. So I think, yeah, those excuses do exist, and there's certain trends that show that players maybe are more susceptible to a lack of motivation than others. But by sticking to our guns and sticking to the environments that we're trying to create, then we're going to be more successful than most.
I think you mentioned motivation, you mentioned passion. They're two words as a coach I think stand out, because for most kids, you'll have them an hour and a half, 2 times a week or 3 times a week.
You would think about 3 times a week, yeah.
Now, I'm a great coach, Leon. I'm fantastic, right? The best coach there is. But if the kids don't turn up with a passion or a willingness to learn, it's not going to go anywhere. And if the kids think, I'm going to training, so I'm going to get better, well, you need to go to training and then leave training and do things at home. On the day off from training, you need to be practicing. And I'm not talking about a regimented sort of, you need to be doing 100 press-ups, going for a 3-mile run every day. No, it's just having the passion to go and kick the ball against the wall, or to play when you're not, or a willingness to learn and watch a game. I'm not going to train today, my legs are tight. That's fine. Why don't you watch something small? And I think it should develop into more of a want to do something for enjoyment, rather than my mum or my dad or my coach is telling me I've got to do this.
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance. And, Tom would tell you, and Marty, when we first created our online platform, there were 1 or 2 parents saying, "Oh, how comes you haven't set homework like other clubs? And how comes you're not making them do this?" And, don't get me wrong, the online platform that we got has got absolutely everything you need. But Marty said it succinctly. Soccer should not be a chore. It's got to be something that you enjoy. And at the time, we, there was a lot of upheaval. People were on spring break. There was new environments with regards to online learning at schools. The last thing you want is to have to be told that you're doing something. And I think you see, Tom, don't you? The kids that turn up early and the kids that leave late at practice because they just, parents having to drag them off the field.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking about when you guys were just chatting then. I'm lucky enough to coach in that, love of the game. And, it is, part of my roles at the club to get kids in. And that's one of the first things I tell the parents, what does your program offer? And we're just saying, what we want at this early age group is the kids have got to love it. It all works together so well when the kids love it. And, me and Leon went to the United Soccer Coaches Convention a few years ago, and the big thing they was pushing there was the whole part whole method. And, I actually have kids that will get to practice even, at the same time I show up, 30 minutes before and take the pug goals off me, because they know when they show up that they can just play, and like Leon said, you got kids showing up that early, you've got to be ready for them. But we let them come in, they scrimmage, and then, there has been times where, especially in the spring, where the sun's not doesn't stay up for as long, and I'm sat there with my car on with my lights showing onto the field, so these guys can still kick around. And because you look, like Leon said, you can't get them off the field, and if that means I've got to sit there for 10 minutes longer, and someone did it the same for me when I was a kid, so just returning the favor.
That's something that stands out to me so much. Is now I'm in the coaching environment, is I didn't have this when I was 8, 9, and 10. My manager used to turn up. He'd collect £2 subs, right? He'd have a cigarette in his mouth and throw a ball into the middle and go, "Okay, you 5 that side, you 5 that side," and we just play, right? And we loved it and stuff. But I didn't have the professional coaches, the like what Inter has, and the development And I can only imagine where I could have been if I would have, not, and still enjoyed the game, but had more coaches that were coaching me and all of the services, the psychology, right? All of the training methods, a reason for doing things. If I had that at a young age, I don't know if I'd be on the podcast with you right now, though, Leon. That's the downside. Lads, you know what I mean? I might be in my mansion in Manchester, away from playing for.
You're one of those players that said you want to be pro and you didn't do anything about it.
That's it. That's it.
No, just for
services, right?
For context, James was very good. He was captain at Division One college and everything. So, but no, I think you talk about all the tools that we have at Inter. You know, we've broken down every single core competency with technical, tactical, fitness. And actually, I had a phone call today with a player that wants to get better. And there's actually a pathway for players to get better based on what position they feel they can play, based on the evaluations that they received. Because it was amazing that, you know, he wanted to play right midfield, but the evaluations, the way that he was perceived, didn't necessarily fit that mold. There was too many things that he had a lower mark. So one of two things: either that player has to get better at those things, or you have to look at a different position. And it just so happens that everything that this player was very good at kind of suited the attacking midfield role. So, you know, right from, and this is, Marty, you've always said this pandemic has set forward a new path for us as a good soccer club to be able to produce educational material above and beyond these weeks, right?
Yeah, well, that's the goal moving forward, right? It's given us the opportunity to, one, offer like a really in-depth platform for all ages during this downtime that we're off. You know, it's looking like we're probably going to get some sort of summer program, which means, you know, there's more information this spring season and the summer than players in any club will ever get. And then as of the fall season, when everything is back to normal and we're out playing and so on and so forth, it's that promise that there's no sessions missed, because we can always return to, you know, or return players' attentions to the online curriculum to work on defending deep or playing out of the back or whatever, or do like a tactical or physical or mental home workout. So even if we can't get on the grass at All Saints in October because there's a heavy rain day or it's thunder and lightning, at least they'll have someone to turn to that keeps them ticking over from a soccer perspective. Which, you know, once this is all said and done, some clubs will have access to online, certainly, but they won't have their own bespoke, unique one that's related to the core competencies and the phases of their own club. So we're in a pretty good place.
That's good. I think in this last couple of minutes, and I'm interjecting here, James, sorry, because I know there's not long left. Have we got ideas in which, for players that do want to go and love the game, love to learn, go and pursue things that they can do above and beyond, that will give them a head start? Because I was saying to a player today, you know, as mean as it sounds, this is, if you've got the opportunity to do so, this is a great opportunity. You know, you shouldn't really see your teammates as you're competing against them. But if you're trying to get onto that top team or higher level team, we're certainly starting to see the players that are doing work right now and those that are not. Do you agree? And anything that we can be doing?
Yeah, listen, I think the best thing you can do is provide everybody with equal amount of opportunity to progress, and paint the picture of what it might look like if they're invested. And then it's up to them themselves and their own devices to kind of knuckle down and do the work, right? I think I shared it with you over the weekend, the article I read about a professional goalkeeper in India. I think has the most caps for the Indian national team, right? Which might sound a little bit like not amazing from a soccer perspective, but he said, like, the reason why he's had such a long, prolonged professional career at the international and pro level, was because he looked at soccer almost like it was a class, of study. And every time he stepped on the field to practice, it was like learning. And every game he played, his game was the test. He says, and that's how he kind of kept himself in check, as to how he improved all the time. That gave him the ability to kind of quantify his improvements. It was a great article. I loved it. And it's like, to your question, it's like, what can we provide? We can provide them with the calculus and the information and the classroom sessions that they need, as well as the on-field sessions, and then say, all right, you have everything you need, go and be successful.
Anything from you, Tom?
Yeah, I was just, before the conversation, I was just listing all the things that, we do offer as a club. Obviously we've got the great foundation where, love the game, love to learn, develop, love to compete, challenge. That's when Mike first told me about that, my mind was blown. I was like, that's perfect for what we want to move forward with. But then I was thinking, we went back to what we were talking about earlier, but like we had the partnership with obviously Train Your Mind. When we can get that fully going, the kids have access to that. It's going to be great. Sports Performance U, that's something that we didn't get to see enough of, but hopefully, these kids are going to get that. And the way, I'm a single child, never had any brothers and sisters, but, the wall in the back garden, that was, the next best thing I could have. So I was practicing all the time against that. So I think, there is always something for people who want that extra. You just got to find out, what you need.
Definitely. James, I know we're not long. I'm going to, every podcast looks for a sponsor.
Here we go.
We're lucky that we do have a sponsor.
We've got a sponsor on board, the sponsor for this podcast, and hopefully many other podcasts moving forward, is Social Scousers. Building on your online community. Check it out, www.socialscousers.com. Find them on social. Okay, guys, ready to wrap up? That was a great session.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, loved it.
Thanks, man.
Guys.
Peace.
Welcome to the Interview Podcast, the voice of InterCT.